There we go. We're finally live. You all have no clue what just happened there, but basically, what a thing that normally takes about 2 seconds to happen and to go live took about 25 seconds there. So the three of us were just hanging around very awkwardly. Hopefully, you didn't see that. How are we all? It's Monday morning, and we are talking about Celtic on the Celtic Way with the morning briefing. Tony and Ryan joined me, Hamish, two guys who were at Easter Road yesterday. A fun day, Tony. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yes, myself and Ryan had a good time. It's always good watching Celtic play well, especially the first half. We were saying yesterday on the briefing that the game was done and dusted after 20 minutes, and we were expecting the final scoreline to be a wee bit more, but sadly that was not the case. But we know Celtic badly need a striker, don't they? Can't shy away from that or run away from that, but they badly need a striker.
You think?
I do think, yeah. I think the manager thinks that too. There are some people that don't at the club by the looks of it. But hey, it is what it is. But we had a good day, didn't we, Ryan? Enjoyed it.
Myself, yeah, certainly did. Yeah, great start. Started to go on. Yeah, brilliant. Clean sheet, 2 goals, sort of 50, 55 minutes. I would say really, really good football. Foot off the gas. They got the job done. They weathered a wee bit of a storm, a kind of bit of a storm with Hibs in the second half. But yeah, they were never out of control of the game, and that would be so. Yeah, positive signs, some really positive individual performances as well. So no complaints here whatsoever about what transpired in the capital yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought we started with, the same kind of level of performance that we'd played the previous week against Kilmarnock, and we got that goal after a couple of minutes, and I think we all felt probably at that point that it was going to be a comfortable afternoon, because Hibs are already struggling for confidence, and I think getting an early goal, you just saw any sort of enthusiasm they had at the start of the game just drained out them very quickly. We get the second goal. I think I would have liked to see a bit more in the second half, but I think we need to remember it's the second competitive game of the season. It's very early, and I was doing a bit of research earlier into our record at Easter Road. Prior to yesterday, 17 visits. Previous 17 visits before yesterday, 6 wins at Easter Road. So, I mean, more often than not, we go to Easter Road and don't win. We've dropped points against them at Easter Road every season that they've been in the Premiership in the past decade. So it's a tough place to go, but the attitude was great yesterday, I thought, and we had the game out of sight pretty early on, Tony.
Yeah, I was very impressed by that opening hour, I guess we could say, 55 minutes, an hour. And then, but it is still early in the season, but they were comfortable. I never ever felt that Hibs were going to come into it at all. They had that one off the bar near the end, which was I think it was kind of Carter-Vickers and Scales thought each other was going to deal with it, and I think Schmeichel would have been absolutely raging had that gone in. But, it could have made the last few minutes tricky, but it didn't. It didn't go in, and that apart, I just didn't see any threat from Hibs. If anything, I thought we were a wee bit, we missed a few chances to make the scoreline a wee bit more emphatic. Kygo had a couple. Kuhn had one certainly in the second half where I thought he should have burst the net and he tried to side foot at home, stuff like that. But I'm okay with that, with it being 2-0 in the game kind of out of sight and there's no real danger. So, but it's when you need it most, these chances need to go in. Kyogo's doing everything except score. He's also hurting himself as well, and every Celtic supporter's taking palpitations every time he goes down. And it happened again yesterday when his shoulder popping. The manager said that at the end. So if that's not the biggest indicator that Celtic have to bring in a striker this week, I don't know what is. Because you end up with Mikey Johnson playing up front and then he goes off as well. So lots of people saying they need to bring in 2 strikers, but I'd settle for 1 at this minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably reached that point. I've sensed that yesterday. I think a lot of people had already reached the point of losing the will to live with the lack of signings, and especially the whole Adamida situation. I think yesterday, even for the most patient of people, probably like myself, was probably the last straw. It was a bit of a shambles. Mikey Johnson. Nothing against Mikey Johnson, but Mikey Johnson being your second choice striker in 2024 is obviously not a great look for the club. Adam Idah should be in by now, and if it's not going to be Adam Idah, you have to look elsewhere. I still think it will be. I actually think this week Adam Idah will come in, but like Kyogo's got a persistent injury issue that everyone knows about, and like he could quite conceivably have gone down yesterday and be missing for a period of time, and we don't have any other strikers, so it's not a great look for the club. They need to get this sorted out for me, but generally a positive day yesterday, Ryan. I think the team's playing well. 3 more points. We're top of the league as well. Aberdeen, I think, are the other team that have got full points so far this season.
Is Ryan frozen again?
He's struggling. He's either frozen or he's just thinking very carefully about what he's going to say. I'm going to go with the former. I'll throw that over to you. In fact, tell you what, Tony, Brendan Rodgers after the game. Interesting. People can watch this on our YouTube channel. Interesting post-match press conference. Yeah,
he was in good form. I don't think he wanted any negativity, Hamish, to creep into it. But there's Ryan back, thankfully. But yeah, he was. Ryan thought he was a bit tetchy in the press. Just talking about Brendan Rodgers, Ryan, you thought he was a wee bit tetchy, didn't you? I'll let you have your say on that one.
Yeah, I think he went through the players at full time. I've got a funny feeling that he wasn't happy with what he's seen for large parts of the second half. Apologies to anybody, by the way. My internet is to and froing this morning, going from my hotspot to my Wi-Fi. So I'm trying my hardest to stay in the stream. I've tried resetting the stream, so bear with me. Hopefully, I think it might have settled itself. Touch wood, but I just thought that, I don't know, it just seemed a tiny bit tetchy after it. And there was a couple of people in the comments that had the same opinion, so I'm glad it wasn't just me that thought that. I don't think he liked the Brendan team coach. I think he prefers if he's telling that story than maybe somebody else bringing it up again and again. But I think it's because it was said that it was a former coach that said it instead of a former player, and he was quick to correct the person that said that in particular. But I just think he's getting a bit annoyed with having to repeat himself over and over and over again, and that's down to the club because they've not brought anybody in, so that he can't talk about anything different. It's as is because nothing's changed. So there has to be things going on in the background. I just think yesterday you seen enough. You seen that 55 minutes of just liquid football that was absolutely immense to watch. The quick play. You actually seen players, you seen some of the opposition yesterday looking physically scared when Celtic were going forward at them. The fullback that was trying to mark Nicholas Kuhn just could not get near him for 55, 60 minutes. He was giving him the runaround, and he was actually going out his way to bully him on that side of the pitch, which is what you want to see from Nicholas Kuhn. It's all about that confidence. If you can keep that going, then I think he'll be one hell of a player for Celtic. But just want to see some developments, a couple more sprinklings of quality into this team, and I think they'll have a really good team, not just for domestic duty, but European as well. They've got the players that can hurt other players, that can hurt opposition players. So I just want him to be backed, because what the manager's doing is clearly working. And Hibs had that one chance to hit the bar, but apart from that, they had absolutely nothing in the game. It was controlled dominance from Celtic for the majority of the game.
I think that there's no doubt that, going back to Brendan Rodgers, that he was, if you want to use the word, tetchy to some questions. I also thought he was in really good form for other bits. His answer to the Steve Clarke, if you haven't seen it, one of the journalists asked if Brendan Rodgers felt for Steve Clarke at all, that he'd been there to witness McGregor score that goal, and he no longer has McGregor as a player for Scotland. And Rodgers basically looked at the journalist and kind of smiled and did go on to give a genuine answer after that. But I thought that was him in good form, and he made another comment about McGregor, I think, and it being good for Celtic and stuff like that. So I thought there's no doubt at parts that he was a little bit frustrated with the questions, but the question is what was frustrating him. Personally, I'm not sure it would have been the performance. I think it might just have been he might just be a bit fed up dealing with the media at the moment and having these same questions asked. And it's not even just Ida, it's Matt O'Reilly every single time. And I know people have got a job to do, but it doesn't make it any less probably frustrating for Brendan Rodgers just constantly having to field these questions. But you never know, there could be loads of stuff going on. But I thought it was a very interesting press conference.
He also gave me a very good answer when I asked him about Kygo.
Yeah.
The fact that he wasn't scoring, but he was contributing, and he broke it down, which I quite like.
Really interesting.
Like a detail, and I say in press conferences or after match like that, you want to learn something. I came away that I'd learned something about Kygo. So, and because he said to me, "Don't blame him for no scoring," but that wasn't my point. My point was he said 2 really good games for Celtic at the start of the season, but he hasn't scored. And my point was, but at least he's contributing, and that's what the manager wants. If he's not scoring, there was people were putting up statistics last season that he touched the ball 4 times in the first half, stuff like that, and none of those touches were goals. But he's influenced the play both against Kilmarnock and Hibernian, and that was my point, that he doesn't need to score to have a good game. And he sort of broke it down for me, and he explained it. I think it explains a lot of what went on last season with him as well, when Brendan was instructing him what he wanted from him. So I quite liked that, and I guess it's like everything else. Brendan's not blind. He sees when Kygo goes down as well. He's well aware of the fact that Celtic need reinforcements. Because he made a point also saying, again, I'm concentrating on the players that we have here at the minute, but I'm still hopeful of getting 1 or 2 in, and we'll deal with that as and when. So to me, I agree to the extent that there's only so many times you can say, I need more players, and there's only so many times you can talk about the likes of Adam Ida and Matt O'Reilly, because he's gave his answers on it, hasn't he?
Yeah. The Kygo answer was really interesting, and basically Brendan Rodgers' point was Kygo has to learn to find space rather than just running in behind all the time. To be fair, I think he said it's something that Kyogo's now doing really well, but maybe last season struggled with that a bit. And basically, finding space can be either going towards the ball or in behind. So I think we're now seeing real variation in Kyogo's play. He's not going in behind every time. He's still doing it to great effect, like we saw for the first goal, but he's also going towards the ball, and he's really good at linking the play as well. I mean, Kygo, a few people in the comments maybe saying Kyogo's struggling a little bit. I think Kyogo's been playing really, really well. He's just not scored the last couple of matches. But Brendan Rodgers said, I don't want him scoring. I don't need him to score 40 goals a season. He doesn't need that. That's not what Brendan Rodgers wants. I think he would settle for less goal output as long as he's maybe playing a role for the team.
If he's getting that same goal total but in goal contributions instead, not just goals but goals and assists, then that's every bit as good. I was talking about that the other day, saying it doesn't matter if he's getting assists, then absolutely brilliant, because that ends an assist as a goal, because you're assisting somebody who will then put the finishing touch on it, and that's good because then he's contributing to the team in other ways. I like that. It's growth and evolution in his game, because he's not a young player. What is he, 29, 30, coming up on 30? His game is evolving under Brendan Rodgers, and I've got no worries about him whatsoever. The only worry I've got is with his injury, with that shoulder, because as far as we know, in fact we all know, he's not had that shoulder surgery that Brendan Rodgers was talking about last summer in Japan. That hasn't happened, so it's a bit of a ticking time bomb, unfortunately, with that shoulder when he goes down with it, because it's always going to be there unless he gets corrective surgery. The problem with that is if he gets that, then he'll have a long time off the park, that could cost Celtic in the long run. So he's playing, he's dicing with danger. It's risky, but for the moment, if he can just pop it back into place, he's a bit of a freak of nature in that sense. He can just pop it back in and continue to play. But as long as he can deal with that and he's not in pain when he plays, and he can play freely in his own game, then I've got no issue with it. But I think maybe this summer could have been a moment. I know with the Adamida situation that maybe wasn't going to be the case, and they needed to have Kyogo there. But if you had a 2-month period, Kyogo isn't exactly getting called up for Japan anymore. That would have been a great period to maybe get that done. Short-term pain for long-term gain for Celtic and everybody concerned with the club and his well-being. So it's one that they might need to look at down the line. But for the moment, if they can manage it and it's not debilitating them too much, then it's not really a problem. But it's always in the back of my head, and I always wonder why aren't more defenders testing his shoulder. I know it's not. I was talking about that yesterday in the post-match briefing. Defenders, they might see that as a sign of weakness and go for that and go for those big, aerial duels and try and clatter Kyogo in the process. But as of yet, we've not seen that. So, fair enough to the defenders that he's coming up against.
But there must be a reason he's not had shoulder surgery, because we're all looking at it and going, it's very obvious. So obviously Kyogo and the Celtic medical team would be doing the same. Yeah. So I can only assume that he feels that he's okay and he doesn't necessarily need the shoulder surgery. As I understand it, this is something that he can obviously keep playing without having this surgery, but the issue might just continue to flare up from time to time.
There has to have been discussions between the player and the medics, and everybody, doing what's best for the player. So it does, on the outside looking in, it doesn't seem ideal because it keeps popping. But if it's manageable, and you'll be getting the best medical advice, so it can't be causing too much grief. But the optics don't look good on it, do they? That's the point that we're trying to make here. If he needs corrective surgery at some point, then it's going to have to happen. But maybe that involves a lengthier spell on the sidelines than Kyogo wants. And if it's manageable and the medical team say it's manageable, then it might not be ideal, but it's where we're at the minute. And it certainly has to be manageable just now, because he's, again, going back to it, he's the only recognisable striker at the club. Dyson Maida can play there. Mikey Johnson was put up there yesterday. So, and that's your damning indictment there of any signing policy, that Mikey Johnson was leading the line and then ended up getting injured himself. So, it's, that to me is unfathomable. If Adamida is the one and only striker you've quoted and looked at, get him in. He has to come in. Yesterday reinforced that even more. What's it going to take? Is it going to take for Kyogo's shoulder to blow altogether and him be missing for a lengthy period of time? You are walking a tightrope with that. I just hope he's not in any kind of pain, but it doesn't strike you that it's a comfortable situation for the player or the medical team to be in at this minute in time.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one that I think is just going to continue to be somewhere in the background, but it's less of an issue. Obviously, it's the same for Kyogo, but from a team point of view, it's less of an issue if we've got another striker there, and that's where the club are just at fault for me. They need to get this striker thing sorted out. It's gone on long enough. Steve's a little concerned about Hati yesterday. One excellent pass to Kygo aside. Thought he was below par. I'm trying to think now, and I can't actually remember Hati doing a great deal good or bad yesterday. Do either of you have any thoughts on Hati's performance?
I thought he was okay in the first half. Faded in the second half, but I don't think he was the only one that faded. The thing is, if he's not on the ball and dictating the play, then it can look like he's off par because he's not influencing the game whatsoever. He's not the best presser when he's off the ball. He's not it's not as if he's Matt O'Reilly and he'll be able to chase 40 yards to get a ball. Or Callum McGregor for that matter. There was a great run yesterday that he sprinted back 30, 40 yards when it looked as if he'd lost it. Chasing lost causes, that's exactly what you want to see in this Celtic team. That bodes well for the future, that they're making these runs and wanting to get the ball back, even when they've been dispossessed or when the opponents are attacking. I didn't think he was great, but I don't think he was dreadful either. The first 15-20 minutes it looked as if he was really up for it, finding those pockets and making some nice passes. But you get the good and the bad with Hati, and I think Brendan Rodgers wants to make that more consistent in his game. I think that's one of his biggest challenges, is to make sure that he's dropping a 7 or an 8 out of 10 every single game, whilst keeping that risk element, because he says he doesn't want to take that out of Hati's game. That's his strength, trying to break the lines with those cutting passes, the things that we know that he's good at, but keeping that more consistent and not putting the team under any stress or trouble when he does lose the ball. I thought he was okay yesterday, but he's definitely got a better performance in him, and I'm hoping that he can bring that next week. He was so good last week against Kilmarnock, so I would expect him to do the same against Hibs on Sunday.
I thought it was the Hati of old yesterday. He dwelt on the ball a lot, and he's covering back. He didn't cover himself in glory with his backtracking. I think he just, because he got caught in the ball a lot and dwelt on it a bit, I think he took the huff with himself more than anything else, and tried to play himself out of it and through it, but just wasn't his day yesterday. He wasn't noticeable as he was against Kilmarnock, and as I say, I think that's one of Brendan Rodgers' bugbears, isn't it? About Hati, his game went to pieces yesterday, but he just wasn't as dominant as he was against Kilmarnock, and I think he beats himself up about that. He's his own harshest critic, and he forgets that. I think he forgets that it's a team game. You have to do your bit for the team. It's not about you in terms of that. If I'm having a bad game, then toys out the pram stuff. So that was just my own thoughts on him yesterday. One of the comments saying he's lazy. I wouldn't call him lazy, but I just think that defensive side of the game is something that he needs to get his head around a lot more, which the manager was talking about as well. And if he's caught on the ball, then he's not doing what the manager wants, and that's shunting it away quickly. And I felt yesterday that was a Hati performance of old that Brendan Rodgers called him out on, that he was too wasteful, and he didn't get the ball away quicker, that short, sharp stuff that was so evident last weekend. So, I'm not going to go in too heavy on him. It was a poorish performance, considering Hati's set his bar quite high. We'll let him off. The team still won. Thankfully, McGregor and O'Reilly were kind of still on song, weren't they, amongst a few others, so all good.
Yeah, I mean, McGregor was great yesterday. Nicholas Kuhn was really lively. Should have had more than one goal. Yeah. The positions he got into, and he just seemed to there was one run in the first half, you guys will remember, where he just kept running past players and just couldn't quite get a shot away. And I just feel for Kuhn when he gets that kind of, I don't know, that edge where he's just able to back himself to get that shot away rather than feeling he has to overrun the ball. I think he's going to be such a good player because he's lightning quick. That one in the second half as well, I think it came from a corner and the ball was played into him. And he kind of let the ball run across him and then cut back on the guy and completely skinned him. And I'm like, this guy has so much potential. I think of all the players we have at the moment, Nicholas Kuhn is the one I'm really excited to see how he develops this season, because he looks lightning, but I think there's much more to come from him as well, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely judged him too quickly. I think when you don't realise all the things that are going on about the player, especially, but a lot of people weren't privy to the information that he'd lost 9 kilos due to having dental surgery. So that's a big, and I always bring that up and defend that, because I was harsh on him at the beginning, but Celtic paid money for him. They paid a good fee for the player, and automatically, being at Celtic, you probably expect results to happen straight away. It's a big team. It's a big move for him, even though he's played for the B teams of Ajax, Bayern Munich, Leipzig, etc. It's different playing for the B team there and playing for the first team at Celtic, and you're expected to win every game. You're expected to put in a good performance every single game without fail. We did see glimpses in the second half of last season, like against Livingston, the goal against Aberdeen, the assist against Aberdeen on his debut as well. But I just seen yesterday was more complete. It was a more complete performance. Yeah. If he can learn when to offload the ball and when to pass to his opponents, just give that ball. If you beat 2 or 3 players, I understood it the first time as to why he took a shot, and I think it was blocked by the Hibs defender. But he did it twice, and I was like, one time is okay, but twice you need to learn how to pass your ball to the opponent, because you've dragged 2 or 3 people out of position. There's going to be somebody else that isn't getting marked, that was the reason why Callum McGregor scored that goal, because they were all pressing tight to Kuhn. Kuhn could then offload it to his captain, and he was free at the edge of the box. Just so happens he had an absolute screamer in his locker that he brought out to play yesterday. But yeah, in terms of like the basics, Kuhn's got it. You can see that he's got it. You can see he's a football player, and he's an exciting player to watch. And he causes defenders nightmares because they have to mark him. So if they go and do a double team on him, it means someone else is going to be free. If they can switch that ball out to maybe James Forrest or Daizen Maeda, they're going to have a clear run at it, or a midfielder's going to have a clear run at goal. That's what happened yesterday. He's causing problems even when he's not, taking a shot at goal or anything. If he's passing the ball out, then he's giving it to somebody that has a better opportunity. So if his decision making improves ever so slightly, there's no limit to what he can achieve this season, because I think he's got it physically. He's definitely got the mental side of the game too. It's just all about that decision making. Once he gets that sorted, I think he'll be absolutely fine. I think he's one of the first names in the team sheet at the moment.
Made the point yesterday, Hamish, that first goal, he starts it and finishes it.
Yeah, I noticed that
his ball through to Kygo, and he kept running. And if the truth be told, and I was saying on the aftermatch show, Kygo should have actually played him in.
Yeah.
But I can understand where Kyogo's coming from. He's a striker, he wants a shot at goal, he can get a shot at goal. But sometimes you need to look up, because Kuhn was in the clear. And but he didn't stand and stare me and think, that's a great pass. He was in there sprinting, thinking, can I get on the end of this? What's going to, how is this going to develop? And Rodgers spoke about that he said to you wingers, you need goals and assists. And Kuhn timed his run to perfection. Tap in, simple, easy goal. But it's an easy goal because he's in the position to get the ball off Forrest. When he squares it up and looks across, he's running in. And that's what I admired about Kuhn yesterday. That first goal, he starts it and he finishes it. And he didn't take the huff that Kygo didn't play him in. Well, lots of players would have flung their hands up in the air and just gave up on it. No, he didn't. He was, professional to last and thought, right, okay, see how this develops. Yeah. Bang, 1-0, 3 minutes. Excellent. And a good attitude. That's knowledge. That's learning. That's evolving. That's developing. That's listening to your manager.
It's funny because when you watch that first goal back, for a split second when Kygo doesn't pass him, you can see he's a little bit frustrated for a split second. And then it's almost as if just he clicks right in and realises, right, I'm on it again. And I don't mind that, because you want him to be unhappy he's not got the ball. Yeah. But as long as it's not, as you say, it's not influencing his next move. And by the way, James Forrest does really well as well. And I'm going to make it my weekly, if not daily thing to make sure James Forrest gets the credit he deserves. Because again, for that first goal yesterday, he's the one who's alert. Everyone's talking about Kuhn, but he's the one who's onto it. And it's not a simple pass. That there's a Hibs defender right there. He has to play it quickly, and it's on a plate for Kuhn. I thought it was great. The second goal, though, was fabulous from Callum McGregor. Did you guys have a feeling when he's striding onto it that it was in the back of the net? Because
Ryan did. I didn't. I was too busy.
Tony missed it in live action. But I knew the moment he hit that, just the way Callum McGregor's got that up his sleeve. The moment he hit it, I knew it was in, because it's one of those ones that he hits it so perfectly. I'm looking forward to doing the stats bomb report, because I'm so sure that will have been like a low expected goal. But it would have skyrocketed by the way and the quality of which he took the shot. It was so true the way he hit it, and the goalkeeper had absolutely no chance of getting it. He jumped for it, to be fair. He did jump for it, maybe for the cameras, but he wasn't getting near it. 2 goalkeepers wouldn't have get near that. Sometimes Callum McGregor just forces the issue. It's the captain's thing. He just forces it, and the team's better for it. Remember against Aberdeen in particular, he forced the issue right after the World Cup. It's like Celtic are really struggling to get a goal here. I'm going to have to take this myself, and he did, and he got that great goal late on. But that one that he scored yesterday was 3 or 4 times better. It's just so, there was an audible gasp when he hit it, because people knew, the Hibs are in trouble here with how sweet and true the shot was. So yeah, it was a brilliant goal to witness in person. It just hit the corner. You knew once it left his boot that it was only going one place, and he fairly enjoyed it as well, right in front of his former international manager and his assistant manager as well. So it's like this is what you're going to miss, Scotland. I've heard a lot of discourse over Callum McGregor over the past couple of days. A lot of people may be hurting with the fact of how many trophies that he's won for Celtic. All he's done, his Celtic career, is win trophies. It's what he's used to. People complaining that he's a crab and he plays sideways. I think some of Scotland's best performances have been down to Callum McGregor, and he's one of these players that you'll miss when he's gone. I think Scotland will miss him in that midfield because he was ever present. He was always playing for Scotland. It's one of those ones that, be careful what you wish for, as Brendan Rodgers said a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I think someone from Kuhn. Sorry, on you go, Rams.
No, you go quickly because I want to move it on after that.
Nice wee shunt from Kuhn to him, and goal of the season already. It's going to take something to top it, innit? Who's going to beat that? It's an absolute howitzer. It's a beauty that I didn't see in real time. There you go.
Cracking goal. Cracking goal. Someone was asking about possession stats from yesterday. We had 74% possession yesterday. We had 82% the previous week. I don't know how that stacks up to last season, but it certainly tells you we're in control of matches. So that's really positive. And I just wanted to bring up a comment McLaughlin just talking about the chance Kygo had in the second half, the one where Greg Taylor played it through to him and he put it into the side net, and then they had the camera angle behind the net that showed it, and I had this exact thought about it being the same, and I'm sure it was Greg Taylor that played it to him for the one against Hibs in the cup final as well. From memory, there was a lot of smoke in the way. I think Hibs had just scored prior to that, so their fans had let off a lot of pyro, but it was very similar to that. But Kyogo's an interesting one because Brendan Rodgers clearly has him doing different things, and I think there's real signs that he's adapting, and I think Brendan Rodgers is happy about that. Anything else post match yesterday that caught you guys' fancy?
I enjoyed, even though I don't think he's had a save to make in his Celtic career professionally or in competitive action. He's had a couple of tame shots that went his way against Kilmarnock, but nothing of note. But I still did love the fact that Kasper Schmeichel was loving it at the end. I can see what's going on in his head. He's like, I don't want to do it too early because this is what Joe Hart did. But he wants to endear himself to the supporters, and I like that. I'm looking forward to if he
already has.
If he gets a derby win over Rangers, to see what he'll do, because I think that's when you'll really see the character of Kasper Schmeichel really coming out to play. I just like him. I don't have any worries about him with the ball at his feet, and that's great. I did to an extent with Joe Hart, unfortunately, just because he wasn't used to that in his game. That was the reason why he kind of ended up at Celtic, because maybe his passing accuracy wasn't as good. Kasper Schmeichel has adapted over his career because he wasn't good at it early on. I think he's worked on it, and you can see that. You can see the difference. I'm comfortable when he's in goals, and I like that he's quite vocal with the players as well. He's not afraid. The fact that he's only been at the club a little over a month, or maybe even just under a month. It's coming up on a month since he joined the club, but he's already wanting to bark out instructions at his defenders and midfielders. In fact, he was berating Matt O'Reilly as well last week. Was a great sign too. Even though they're international teammates, he's not afraid to give it to him if he's not performing to the standard that he wants. He's just another leader in the dressing room, and it's absolutely great to see. And you can see why Brendan Rodgers was so keen to bring him in.
Will he have a save to make this week, though? That's the question. I must say, as great as it is to be Celtic and absolutely dominating, it's a bit of an indictment on two teams in the Scottish Premiership that he's played 2 matches so far and actually hasn't had a proper save to make where he's had to actually extend himself. I think he maybe had 1 save against Kilmarnock last week that was straight at him, a volley, but he'll be wondering when his actual work kicks in, I guess, and when he actually has to do something.
Don't worry, Hamish, it's in the post. There will be a day when he'll
Champions
be
League.
as busy as it. So, yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks against the arrival. So, as long as he's ready, I'm sure he will be. But yeah, I don't mind him not having any saves to make against the likes of Kilmarnock and Hibernian, but I think he just. I did say I hope his teammates are taking him aside and saying it's not always like this. You will be busy, trust me, against someone. So just be ready when that comes along. But yeah, you can't really judge him on anything, can you? Apart from his ball distribution at the minute, because he genuinely has had not a lot to do. So, but that looks the part, and he was getting into it with the celebrations at the end, wasn't he, and stuff like that. So he's certainly ingratiated himself in the dressing room, and he looks like he's enjoying it and already. And long may that continue. But I'm sure he will be ready when he's called upon, and that's that'll be the hallmark of a class goalkeeper, which we all think he is.
Yeah.
You can see why Joe Hart and Kasper Schmeichel have been good friends for a long, long time, because they do the same things at the end of games. Kasper Schmeichel was talking to the opposition goalkeeper. That's the reason why he's himself rather than with the rest of his teammates, because he was talking to Hibs' goalkeeper for a good 5 minutes after the game, then went over to the crowd. It wasn't as if he was timing it to just get the adulation from the fans himself. He was genuinely interested in his opponent and talking to him. Just one more question, just to sort of pose to the two of you. Do you think he'll be playing next Sunday? Because I think we'll find out the answer to what Sinisalo's role is in this team. Be interesting to see if Brendan Rodgers trusts him with League Cup and Scottish Cup games. Could be an opportunity, especially at home.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, actually. I did think about that a few days ago. I thought, we're coming up to the League Cup. What will he do? Who knows? I would be happy to give Sinisalo a go in that game. Chances are he won't have a great deal to do, but even if he does, that's no bad thing. So, I'd go Sinisalo personally.
Yeah, I would go Sinisalo. You want to see the two of them, don't you? You want to see how the understudy performs under pressure as well. And that'll be a pressure game per se. I think you'll see a different Hibs approach too. But in terms of continuity, maybe the manager might want continuity. That was the same starting 11 he started yesterday, which he's not had the luxury of for a long time. So you don't know what will go through his head. But I think in an ideal world, you would want to see Sinisalo. But my first thought would be, Sinisalo. But if he plays Schmeichel, I'm not too perturbed with that either.
No, not
what
at
he's
all.
trying to do in terms of continuity, so that's fair enough.
He did say before the game at the weekend, at this point of the season where we've only got the weekend fixtures, you won't see many changes. I think he said until the next international break or whenever the Champions League starts. So it may be that we don't actually... I wouldn't be totally surprised if we don't see changes this weekend and Schmeichel's in, and then it might be when the Champions League stuff starts, maybe Sinisalo would come in for the odd league game after a Champions League match. I wouldn't be against that either. So I think we're going to see Sinisalo play a handful of games this season. We'll just need to wait and see exactly when that is, but only the manager will know that. But I think there's a plan for Sinisalo for the future, so I'd be surprised if we didn't see him play some games. It could be Scott Bain though. You never know, guys. I'm kind of joking there, but you also never really know. Right, I'm happy to leave it there unless there's anything else you guys want to say.
No, just happy days. Let's get some signings through the door.
Simple as
That's
that.
all I want, really.
Let's get some signings.
But it's honestly just as simple as that. There needs to be signings this week. And I'll go as far to say, like, Miovski's done. He's going to Girona. It's got to be Adamida. All the eggs are in the one. I know.
We no longer need to talk about Bojan Miovski. He's not going. He's away to Girona. Great move, by the way. Might come up against him in the Champions League. We know how that story ends, don't we? Adamida. I think we've come too far for it not to be Adamida. The club need to make that happen this week. And if it's not going to happen this week, we need to somehow look in our drawer of potential forward candidates and find someone else, because we can't be going into this weekend, or certainly the St Mirren game, with one forward. So the club need to make that happen.
I'd say this weekend, Hamish. Although you're contemplating going into the St Mirren game with one forward, that has to be this week. That yesterday should be enough to jolt you into some sort of action. When Kygo and Mikey Johnson both got hurt, that's it. That's enough. It should be enough to signal some intent here in terms of the striker role. Just get him in. Stop mucking about. And just get that. Conclude that piece of business.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you everyone for chatting away as always. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll catch up with